forward, digitize it into remote. So that has been very good. And I think the pandemic has opened up the minds for people for the necessity to try out remote, because if there is no other choice to innovate, you just have to ease into the discomfort and just do it. And so there was definitely a greater readiness to try out remote, whereas beforehand I have suggested it because we have already been working together. I've been through the GVDS process. I could do it already, but none of my clients have been ready to do so. So because of the great pain, there was a great readiness to just try out some new stuff. And actually, it has been more efficient and more insightful for the client, and they want to continue remote. So,
are you still of the opinion? Oh, I'm sorry. Go. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was talking for a long time. My personal experience was very positive, actually, in this time.
Do you still feel that? Well, I remember a conversation earlier where all of this global virtual design sprint activity kind of set you up for feeling like you're ahead of the game in terms of where you need to be with kind of doing things virtually or with remote. Do you still kind of feel that after kind of doing the work that you've done with Alex since then?
Absolutely. I feel like our bunch of people are the only ones who can truly deliver remotely. And especially in the German market, that is a rare qualification to have. So we've all been at the right time, at the right place in the right time, definitely. And I'm looking very much forward to continuing working with you guys and seeing what you got, Robert. I'm looking forward to doing the dash.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But the way it's setting up, it should be pretty interesting because it's going to be two. So to clarify, the two tracks in those particular veins with the virtual design sprints and the dash, the virtual design sprints are going to take on a different flavor in that they're not going to be. The idea is that you're not going to try to make a business or make a product or service from the VDS just because it's been that problem of not having it prepared or not having enough time to kind of put to it, or disproportionately having to deviate like your time and energy towards that. The idea being is that the design sprints are going to basically teach you about the process and teach you about actually going through the motions and emphasizing that part of it, versus the dash where it's like, okay, this is basically going to be about really expanding upon what you're going to think about doing with a service or a product. So it'll have that distinct aspect of it, where the first is more simulated, more learning the process. The second with the dash is more going after something that you think would work in the marketplace and testing it out. So there really is a division between the two. At least that's the idea. That's at least the focus for it. So, okay, cool. Is there anything in particular that you are actively learning right now? Like, is there something? What's your major learning curve that you're doing right now, Lisa?
My learning curve?
Yeah, your major one.
Things out, well, actually to go more into sales and talk to customers, because if you look at Google Trends, at least in Austria, nobody's, we know that, but nobody's really Googling design sprints, and even design thinking is just about arriving. And so, I kind of have to hold my horses and repeat myself a lot of times and be patient. And so that's more like a personal and sales learning curve. And when it comes to what we are doing, I'm looking forward to experimenting and trying to do new things that only we are ready to do and clients are not yet. So I'm looking forward when we can run a dash with a real company, actually.
And my last question is are you reading anything in particular about sales or working with someone to kind of learn the process or learn the ropes? Is there something you're doing right now to kind of help you with that learning curve you're talking about?
Yes, a lot of different people and courses and things books, all kinds of resources, all at the same time. Yes.
Okay, you're thoroughly immersed in it. Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you. Nice seeing you again, Lisa. Alex, Mr. Alex.
Yes.
Since you've been working with Lisa, how have you been? What have you been up to?
It's been quite a roller coaster ride, I have to say. I had very good time with Lisa and of course with the clients, and as well the possibility in a team to spot on one day what is happening in a team that you did not know before a day before, and then reiterate the course for the next day because something is more important than you thought in your prep time is. And making a night shift was a major experience and helped me tremendously to start creating my own courses and helped me to bring on my own exercise and bring them in its own format. At the same time, prototyping was a huge inspiration for me from the GVDS. I did my own course. I made a first iteration with 3 people. It's more bound to the startup scene. I'm doing a prototype with a friend of mine where we actually try to make a business ourselves. It's about testing IT features, which is interesting. And I recently started more corporations again. One is together with Benjamin Dehan, Benji from Tokyo. We had today our first LDJ on COVID and versus business, which was like an awesome little group, and with Americo and Marcus Lee and others. And we will want to do that on a regular base, so monthly. I'm going to started a program with Nora. We have the first LDJ on next week on, I think, Thursday, about femtech. We want within 12 months, we want to create 5 startups within the femtech area with all the possibilities we have, with an LDJ to generate ideas, with a prototype to see what's working, and with a design sprints to develop a prototype, and with a team canvas to match somehow founders with the ideas. So that's like the idea that we have in the back there. And the third thing is that and that goes into the sales topic from Lisa as well, that I did start a podcast with Markus Lehr in German. It's called Lightning Marmalade in German, Blitzmarmelade, which makes absolutely no sense. But and we started the first one, and we want to talk about design thinking in German and really translate everything, which starts with design thinking, because that's not German, and that is really that poses some questions that are really interesting that we have to think through, as well to make sales is still something that is top of mind, and how to reach client. I think we're all talking too much to peers, talking not enough to clients directly. 70% in the last crisis, 70% the financial crisis, 70% of all companies tried to go through the crisis by cutting costs, and they did not good after the crisis, most of them. Those who were really good were those who were inventing within the crisis. Having said that, it will be the same right now, and we have a huge opportunity out there, but somehow I'm not really getting it. And so I'm wrapping my thoughts around what can I do there. Sorry, it's a little bit loud here.
That's all right. I mean, you could always use crisp if it helps with the background noise, but I guess for you, it's also kind of listening in and trying to hear other people. Kind of the same question with I asked for Lisa. It's like on the sales front, is it something that you're actively learning, or is this something that naturally comes to you? What are you kind of doing, like in terms of like playing in that space, like being able to talk to people outside your peers and kind of have them involved?
So I had a trainer. I still have it, but to help me, it's not a rocket science that person provides to me. And I was a salesperson when I was young, so I know a lot of the techniques. Some things might have changed and so on. I found out for myself, it's an emotional burden to me to call someone cold. And for calling someone and getting in touch with them, there is no other way. There is no cool LinkedIn and people are coming, or there is not, I have a lot of design sprint ads out there and they come to me. They don't come to me. I tried that does not, for me, it does not work. I have to go to the people. When they then see my LinkedIn profile, when then they read my articles, that's cool. That helps me to convert them, but I have to contact them. And I have a deep emotional problem with that. So I'm thinking about working with someone together that is a cold caller, someone that says, hey, that's a list of 100 people. That's mine. I do it. I'm not that type of person. When I get introduced to someone, I can convince people. That is what I I know that is somehow happening. I can hardly explain it, but it's the way it is. And so that's the direction I'm thinking at the moment.
Okay. So I had a question for you, and I totally forgot what it was because I was intently listening to what you're talking about. Are you Oh, I remember. Are you familiar with Leslie Barry and the work he's doing with prototyping out in Australia? Does that name ring a bell?
Yes, but since yesterday, because you introduced us you tagged us, I think, in a post, and it was like super interesting what he's doing. And I already thought I have it on my list to reach out to him and to talk to him personally.
So I was going to say that some of the things that you all are working on, make sure that you put them in the chat so that I have a record of them, so that when I send this out on social media later on, in terms of who was part of this first networking event, that I'll have a list of different things that all of you are kind of either concentrating on, working on, or want to promote or anything else. But I have that list. So beyond linking you and or tagging you in LinkedIn, being able to kind of point to some of the stuff that you're kind of like focusing on. But one of them is Leslie Barry's prototyping Slack. Like he started something that's just like brand new as of last week, where other people who do prototyping are kind of going the same space. Alberto Savoy is in the channel. So it's just starting, but it's something to at least track out of the 50 million Slacks you may have like on the list. It's something if you're kind of into prototyping, that's something I'll include here when I get done.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And anything else you want to talk about, Alex?
I'm keen on for the next GVDS, if I may say that, to try out fractal pathing. I now heard about that for a while, and I think that is something really, so it's like that kind of mysterious, shiny new object from Rob that I need to have.
I feel like this is going to be like the next Star Wars movie where it comes out, it's all flash and pan. Then when you go see it, it's like, it's just that. And so I know. Okay. Yes, it has to come. Got it. Yeah. It's going to happen soon.
Make a session hopefully on it for all of us, because
yeah.
we're also interested.
No, I don't know. It's going to be one of those things where either you get the vibe in the meeting that it's kind of working versus ones where they're kind of like taking it all in, like the first couple of dashes were. And so I'm hesitant to kind of just put it into an acid test like that. So I'll write about it and I'll show the examples of the past that I've used it with and how it's used. But then from there, we can do a live session probably before GVDS once the article's out. But I have to kind of get the mural set up and everything else. And that is on the list. It's just the educational stuff is top for me so that I don't miss out on that again. Okay, so I'm not picking any particular order in terms of who I'm calling. I'm just working in sequence of how I'm seeing it in Zoom. So this is not an importance kind of call out. It's just whoever's like next. So Iva, you're next on what I'm seeing here. So now that you got everything set on your side of things, tell me what's going on with you. I mean, how is everything?
It's good, but it's interesting to hear that sales is a big challenge, and it's same for me. What Alex is saying, like I'm not a cold caller, and this is what I'm constantly thinking about. Like, how do I get out? So I spent last 4 months basically revamping my website, pivoting on completely remote virtual collaboration, and actually figuring out how do I package my services. So I was actually putting everything together, and I'm currently building the course. Course is starting on Monday, and I'm prototyping. So I'm running a prototype with a bunch of friends, some paying clients, and just mix of people, different audiences. So I'm targeting both like product managers, team managers in the organizations, as well as smaller companies and medium-sized companies, whatever they are doing, to actually learn how to run virtual co-creation. So I'm kind of taking everything from design sprint, design thinking into virtual co-creation. That's the name, which I'm not really happy about, but it's the best I could come up with at the moment. It's just very theoretical. And I'm running this course, which is a 3-week course, and I plan to put it out there as a package together with my consulting and facilitation, whatever it is. And then I feel like I have something concrete to offer if I'm cold calling or reaching out to people.
So the weight make part I have seen was very promising, actually, I found.
Thank you, Alex. So that is another bit actually. So I'm also working on a wake make model, which is the simplest collaboration model in the world. So that's the title of it. And what I'm trying to do is just filter and sift through all of the innovation models, and there is plenty of them, and come to the bare core. And I think since humans all make sense of the world in dualities, so I created my duality, which is wake and make. And it's about making sense. It's about awakening sense of things as a group and then making things real. And into making things real, everything like prototyping and testing things come into play. And where you have actually understanding and building community and groups around certain challenges, that's the wake part. And it's about balancing those two components. So the key is in understanding how the group is at the moment. Are they completely awakened, like around the challenge? And are they ready to move into make stage where they can actually make something concrete to awaken even more insights and understanding about the challenge? So I'm working on that wake make model, which is also very simple. There are 6 different sessions that can be combined in different way. So Alex were participating in one of my public sessions, which was wake stories, make opportunity, make visions, and then take decisions. So I'm playing with words here and just combining like different building blocks for these sessions. And the plan is basically to just package all of these ideas that I've been building over, last 5 years into something concrete, and then go out and sell them. Sell them even before, then I build them completely. But yeah, that's where I am at the moment.
What's interesting is that this isn't the first time I've heard like a concern, or at least an inquiry or an understanding of sales. This was actually around in like GVDS 2 and 3, where people were wondering, like, how do you basically convert what we were doing in terms of a business and finding the right audience without having to do the cold calling, without having to kind of like start afresh or using advertising. And it was really kind of leveraging networks, but that required you to actually have an expanded network of different people that you may not know. And part of that is also people understanding your content and knowing where to find you. So it was there's one person I'm thinking of, his name's Jim Hobart. He was a UX executive, and he's been part of the previous GVDSs, I think, for number 2, number 3. He did food waste, I think, with a group, and then someone else. But his entire career was about kind of working with different executives on what they wanted to do with UX, and he was selling that full time. And I think he still is to a certain extent, but I think he's pivoted into design thinking a bit. And there's a podcast I did with him that kind of goes into how he approaches sales, but maybe it's worth kind of circling back with him if there's people on the call that would find it beneficial, and talking to him about how he approaches it, because he's made a living out of it, but his disposition is different than the average designer. He looks at things in a completely different manner. So that's one possibility.
Still, if I might say one thing, what I found interesting is that a lot of us that are like, I would perceive as veterans of the scene, are going into train the trainer, facilitate for the facilitators, and that's perfectly fine, and that is of course a good audience and so on. But it shows, I think, as well, again, that so if I do out a LinkedIn post, normally my peers design thinker like that, or if I do on online marketing, my peer online marketeers like that. But I don't feel that I reach the right people, and I think that goes for a lot of us. It's really, yeah. So I don't know if. So like you, Rob, sitting in the center of a very large development, not everyone can sit in that center. It's not complaining or something like that, but we all have to find our own spot, and we have to find our own way to our clients. And for me, at least for me, I feel I'm not on the way to the clients. I'm talking to the wrong target group, and I'm trying to shift that somehow. And I haven't found, besides picking up the phone and calling them. I haven't found any any key to that.
Okay, it's interesting. Iva, what are you currently doing that in terms of your learning curves? Like I've been asking that question with everyone. So what's like the major thing that you're kind of spending some time on to kind of understand or explore?
So currently I'm in a course building. So it's about how to do videos, how to edit videos, and how to make that really smooth so I don't spend too much time on it. I have a business coach and business community that I'm part of for the last year and a half. So I get a lot of information from them and from the whole community. It's a quite huge community. It's several thousand people, 3,000 people actually in that community, which are all entrepreneurs. So that's where I'm getting a lot of sales information, negotiation information, and really tips and tricks how to do it. And the rest of it is also, how to build a website. So I did my own website and all of that, right?
I don't know what that means.
Remember the bag with all the green squares?
Green squares? I'll take a look for it in a minute, but
I need it now.
Is that your? Hang on one second. If you can. We have a school emergency. I have to find like a bag full of green squares, and I don't know what that is. So.
Remember those green squares that I put out?
Yeah, I know, but that's probably over near your desk. Remember where we put everything over there, or it's in your pull-out drawer. Do you want to look in your drawer there and see if you got that? If you still need help with it, I can break away. Did you already check there? Did you check the bookshelf? Go check the bookshelf, bud. That's the only other place it could be.
I just checked.
We all agree that the best part is becoming part of the Scrope family, right?
No.
And there is another, I'm in the same learning club, Robert, how to do virtual school. So I spent last week figuring out the Google Classroom because my kids are both in Zoom classes.
Yeah, and monitoring is a must because there's so many different things they can deviate from, especially if they watch a video that's hosted on YouTube. YouTube will have the preview inside the video that they've seen for school. And it's like, oh, I just happen to like this one. Oh, I like kind of. So then it's kind of like, no, back, focus. So it's almost like we're kind of helping out the teachers by focusing the kids. So that's just what has to happen. So upcoming, what are you hoping for out of this next GVDS? What should I be focusing on beyond like education, other things that I've been doing? There's fractal pathing. I got that. That's on the list. So anything from your standpoint that I should basically take these next 3 weeks to emphasize?
I love to see that you're doing videos. How to actually go through GVDS and all the details. That was something that I was kind of expecting previous GVDS, and so I'm glad that that's coming up. I'm excited about Dash, and I'm wondering about the challenges. So there is this pending article that I still have to write about. Third article that I wanted to write about GVDS 4, which is about challenges and how to do the challenge framing and who is actually submitting the challenge and what are the references that people can use to get familiar with the challenge and get into the space. So I'm wondering about that part.
Okay. So there's going to be a shift in how we're doing challenges for this particular event. Before, the process was that I would inquire. I had a form for doing the challenges. Then from there, it was putting all the challenges up on Mural for people to look at. Then there was a kind of a vote in terms of the ones that seemed more appealing. Then there was the major vote, meaning that you really, really wanted to do it. And then there was the top 10 or 12 list for teams to choose from. And then that way they could do all the same one that they wanted, which was 6 of them doing blended learning and remote learning, and others could basically do others. But the problem with that process was there were 2. One is that logistically it was a lot to do just to kind of manage all of that manually, The other is that it left people with a feeling of disappointment because their particular challenge wasn't addressed or picked. Like they didn't feel like they were part of the entire event. I was told this privately, where their people were kind of banking on getting their challenge done, so that it kind of it kind of demotivated them in a bit, so that they weren't as engaged with as they would be. So the freedom of choice is fantastic for what I was trying to do, but the problem was that it sent the wrong message. So this time around, I'm going to fall back on something that seemed to work in a previous GVDS, which was that once the team's assembled, you do either a group conversation around what kind of challenge everyone would like to do, or you do something like a lightning decision jam. So that particular one basically focuses the group on a genre, a particular area. You have a little bit of an exploration into where you want to be, but you do it way in advance of where you're going to be in October. So if we start forming teams possibly next week in advance, they're going to be like sizes of 4 to 8. The idea is that you're going to start the discussion on a challenge so that you have enough time to kind of casually look at different information, exchange that with others, but getting a little bit focused on where you want to be, so that there's not this disconnect between what the challenge is or proposed and what the team is eventually going to do, because that seemed to be like an issue with some groups going into GVDS 4, is that there was this conversation that was happening about the challenge that didn't stick or translate once the team actually started doing the work. Does that make more sense?
It does. In a way, I liked this wide challenge of pandemic and, opportunity for people to submit their challenges. What didn't work for me was vague definition of the challenge. And that was really difficult to start up the team, to actually get off the ground with clear understanding. Why are we here, and what are we trying to do, and what are we trying to achieve?
Yeah, and it also burdened the team with having to do a disproportionate amount of research to figure out what the topic was all about and to comprehend it with the team. So I think if the challenge stays with this is within the team itself and it generates from that, it's a lot easier to kind of be on the same page about what everyone's doing and kind of have a focus that makes sense. That's why I'm making kind of the shift towards the team first, then the challenge goes within the team. But the idea is that you can still share out what your challenge is. If people want to cross collaborate, that's perfectly fine. But I think I want to take 75% of that process and dock it, like put it on the books. Then 25% I'm going to basically keep within the confines of a particular group.
I like the idea of starting with the team. There is something in me telling me that it might be good to narrow down the topic.
Yeah.
Or at least have several topics that people can focus on, because if it's just wide open, the creativity suffers, right? Like boundaries. We need boundaries to be more creative about what we can achieve.
Especially when we don't have the context of a company, organization, or whatsoever. I mean, we know each other, but that normally packs people together, having that kind of purpose sense around them. And we do not have that in GVDS. It's just a bunch of people that might know each other come together. And then when the challenge is formulated in a good way, that helps a lot.
Which also brings me to the thinking, I like the experiential process of, okay, let's get together as a group of strangers and figure out what we want to do together. What's our story, and what from that story we can actually surface up to see what do we want to solve. I like that part. I think as GVDS as a movement already has a very strong presence, and it has kind of a power to say, since last one was pandemic, like let's look at the challenges and submit challenges regarding the pandemic. This one could also have some kind of narrow down into the topic, and it could be something related to learning from pandemics on either personal level, team level, business level, organizational level, community level, whatever. But it can be some kind of narrowed down
I think
area or context.
From what we've been discussing so far, I think sales could be one. I mean, I've heard that now from 3 people. So if we're still thinking about the virtual design students being informational and simulation, but you're learning versus the prototype, which is all about testing the market for desirability, it feels like sales and probably employment opportunities or employment recruitment, something that has to deal with finding jobs. That's something I hear every so often from junior designers and UXers and other people that are trying to find work in this kind of economy. That's something that seems to be in the informational bracket, where it's like learning the scope and the depth and the breadth of that particular problem.
Sales, or in general, like finding business, I think it's key.
Yeah.
You know, how do we create business now?
Yep. And Raj, by the way, is watching us on YouTube. So hi, Raj. He says, I'm also learning more about showcasing services through my own website. One more thing which I started exploring is economic development. I got the chance to support 2 home-based businesses in this time. And Raj, if you want to join us on the call, I mean, come on over. We got it's cozy here. We got 5 people, but so we're not with the doors and closed. So if you want to come by, then ping me on LinkedIn, and then we'll kind of bring you over. But okay, thank you very much, Iva. G Zella, how are you? You're still on vacation. You've been on perpetual
Hello.
vacation every time I see you.
Yes,
So what?
because it helps me with the Zoom fatigue.
Yes, yeah, I understand. You only have so much of the Zoom before you start going, oh, do I have to be on video? Do I have to? Yeah. So what's going on with you?
So I have 2 big projects. That's been my passion. One is the one that been doing with the teenagers, the design camp for teenagers.
I've been part of that. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. That was awesome.
Yeah, that came from prototype 3 from the Dash. So it ended up becoming a snowball. It ended up becoming a team. So we're moving it forward. My second big project is actually trying to use all that we learned in the GVDS at work. And I completely fell in love with prototyping. And I really think we can use it a lot at my job. So my challenge and my struggle and my goal is to use it more and more at work. So basically what I've been focusing on is trying to get more buy-in from work, from the work teams, because we have 3 different teams. We work with marketing team, I'm in the product team, and we also need to coordinate with one of the main teams, which is the research and development. And trying to get them to see a way how we could use prototyping, introducing the concept, creating templates, working from them. That's been my what's keeping me busy these last weeks and months.
So you definitely probably want to check out Leslie's Slack, because he's worked with like a lot of different businesses. He's even kind of worked a couple of he's helped them with, like, I think in 4 years there were like three
Actually,
particular ideas.
He has his own Slack channel. He reached out to me on LinkedIn today.
Yeah, he has his own Slack channel.
Okay, what's it called?
Okay, I'll have to find that, but give me 1 second. I'll look it up.
Because
he
reached out to me on LinkedIn today, and I think it was from from the conversation that you were having with him on GVDS, and he's connecting with people.
So what's up next for Teenagers for Change? Because I talked to someone that came from that program through a referral. I had him on the podcast with Sandy. I'm going to say his name wrong. It's like
Ishan.
His last name is Ishan Shah. Yeah.
Ishan.
Yep.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Very well
Really
spoken.
cool. So we're having now a retrospective session, and then we're going to have a strategy session, the whole team, to decide, to align on how we will move forward.
It was fantastic. So I was facilitating one team together with Finn Hampel. I think he also is joining the GVDS 5. And Yeah, Finn is also an amazing guy. He's 21 years old and he's still into facilitation and figuring out how to do it. And it was really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna have a strategy session, the whole team, and we will yeah, and we'll see how we move forward. But yeah, it's definitely something that's going to be even more developed.
I can imagine it will be because just because of the reaction and the amount of work that you've put into it already. Looks promising. It definitely looks like
Yes.
there's an audience for it. I mean, the major sponsorships that you were able to get and as part of it speak to like both corporate interest as well as individual interest. Now it may be just a marketing play. It may be just a matter of trying to find different audiences that
Yeah.
would appeal to that sort of thing.
Yeah. So we're going to be discussing the way forward, and basically I've been splitting myself into these two things: this project and at work. And yeah, I have been considering starting my own business too. I managed to have 3 clients, but I'm still not too sure how to develop that. So yeah, the sales part could be interesting, the discussion and the learnings from each other. So
Yeah,
that could definitely be.
That's the 4th mention of sales. So that's definitely something I'm going to try to put emphasize within the as a
it's a domino
option.
effect. Lisa started.
Yes.
What I would like to say that I find interesting when you guys were discussing. So here's the thing. When it comes to sales, I don't have a problem cold calling. I don't have a problem talking to people. What I've been trying out different ways, and now what I'm trying out is really reaching out to people on LinkedIn and inviting them for coffee, virtual chat, and really try, instead of actually trying to sell anything, just really try to understand what they're doing. And then I can say, okay, I think I could help you here and there. So I'm kind of trying out because I'm also not that into sales. So I'm just trying different ways to approach people and things like that.
So maybe this helps the conversation immediately with what we're talking about with sales. So I can tell you what's been working for me this year. I've been taking the content approach where every day I'm posting at least 2 or 3 pieces of content in some fashion, but they're not just kind of pillar content. It's like I work on it, or at least I share something that I think has value. But what seems to work more like 80-90% of the time is someone else will comment unsolicited about something that I've done, or something that is currently, they give kudos, or they give thanks for something else that's currently out there that's helped them. Somebody who has buying power, somebody who's in a position where the project sees that as something that isn't marketing, but actually like somebody in the industry or somebody else that's vouching for what I do. So they'll have open-ended questions where they're not sure where to go with things, but that starts the conversation. Like, I read about this from Crema, that you were in virtual sprints, and we have a situation where we have this. Can we have a conversation about something?
I need my whiteboard.
Where's your whiteboard? It was there. You check around the desk?
Not here.
Okay. You want me to help you find it? Okay, give me a couple minutes. So that has been something that's worked really well. Podcasting has been one where if I have a guest on that they're aware of or that they're familiar with, that tends to help. And I haven't been doing podcasting because of the production overhead. Though when I was doing it full-time last year in December, I saw a healthy upclick of people kind of inquiring what I'm all about. But my problem was I didn't have my services listed in Facebook and other places succinctly, so people couldn't do any shopping or value judgment on what was going on. And I tend to not put prices at all anyway, because it tends to put you in a box. So it was one versus the other. But I'll stop talking because I want to make sure this is more or less about networking and not necessarily about me on a soapbox of what works. Just the takeaway is that third-party endorsements that are unsolicited seem to move the needle for other people that had buying power more so than me kind of advertising and saying how great I am, which I'm not that great, but just basically saying my company's amazing. It's more like, what can I actually prove that I can do? So Americo, I know you've been patiently waiting, but Giselle, before I move, is there anything that you're looking forward to on the GVDS side of things that you want to like say now that I should basically put some time into? I mean, I've got fractal pathing exercise, making sure there's more videos, potentially like having some themes on the VDS side with sales and making sure that that's something that we can explore in that topic. But what do you want? What would you like to put out there in terms of something that you'd like to see developed or worked on in the next 3 weeks? Or can you hear me? Did you pick up, Giselle, or are you still trying to work out what you're doing?
No, I'm trying to get back the sound because I was hearing you cut.
Oh.
I was hearing you cut. Yes, tell me.
Okay.
No, I think it's okay.
What do you want to see? What do you want to see in the next GVDS?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh. What do you want from me in terms of the next GVDS? What would you like to see worked on between now and then that you'd like to put more emphasis on?
I would definitely like to echo Alex's words in the beginning. I definitely want to learn about fractal pathing.
All right.
Definitely. And I want to continue with the dash and even more prototyping. I like that.
There'll be a lot of that for sure.
I like experimenting with all that.
Cool. All right, cool. Thank you very much, Gisela. And Americo. All right. Now you've had 50 minutes to figure out what you're going to say. Hopefully it's going to blow everybody away that's on the call. So let me know what you're up to and what you're all about.
So the economy is going down, completely down. A lot of unemployment too, and that unemployment brings me some opportunities because companies need insights and need work. They just cannot afford or doesn't want to afford employees at the moment, and that is opening some opportunities. I think that's because of this. And I've been spending quite a lot of time in Playdate, in the Global Design Challenge. Playdate, I was able to have an alignment of commitments with UNESCO, a research organization that's called ERA Network 18. It's an organization of researchers in education, and they represent teachers in schools around Europe. And I also aligned with a Spanish organization called in English something like Sports for Education and Health, and it's going very well. I just would like to have UEFA with us, and I think we will have a good set of partners to move with Playdate for incubation. So that is taking me a lot of time, but it's going very well, and I'm very pleased with having the team participating in this program. Business is going not that well. It's enough to pay the bills, all right, and that is very good at the moment. It's doing very well. Not related with design sprints because I'm not. I need to invest more time on what already gives me some income, and I will have to wait for a better opportunity to open a business line related with design sprints, and that is meant to happen with a colleague I've been working with in marketing research. But so in business, it's going very well. It's not going very well, but it's okay for paying the bills. So what I've been learning is this opportunity with Playdate for incubation is going very well. I'm studying something that is designing effective policies and programs in sports. That is from an Australian company that provides this training. It was offered to the Playdate team because we came third in the contest, so they offered this course. And it's interesting because sports in Portugal is horrible. No one takes care of sports, and I'm thinking in combining design sprints with sports. What can come from this combination, because there is nothing in Portugal, uh, uh, and also there is very little in terms of design sprints in Portugal. I just know two people in Portugal who who, who who showcase something related with design sprints, despite there is Accenture and Deloitte and all those big companies that provides that service. They are not that they don't have a public projection or public presence. So it's like if they are not there. But design sprint is something very small in Portugal. In the country is also very small by its own. So that's it. Business. Blah. The development of Playdate in the Global Design Challenge is going very well, taking a lot of time, and I'm learning a bit about sports, and that's it.
So essentially what I've learned on this call is that in order to be able to, instead of just asking somebody how they're doing, you have to preface it like, give me a sound effect that basically explains how well you're doing in some fashion. So everyone will have their different sound effect. Like everyone has a facial expression. People are kind of like going, this will be my communication and how things are going. But yeah, cool.
Let's do that sound thing.
Yeah, or the sound thing. Yeah. With Playdate, the one question I had was, is that came from the last GVDS, correct? Or did I get that wrong? Okay. So between that and Teenagers for Change, it sounds like that once something seems to either have intrinsic motivation or catches fire with something, there's this disproportionate amount of like emphasis or focus that goes into taking it to the next stage. But I'm assuming that when that happens, it's because there is motivation to kind of see where it goes. There is real interest in kind of seeing how this thing plays out with UNICEF and with other interested parties, correct?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you wouldn't be doing the work.
Yeah. In our case, Ken Soto and myself, we both were the most interested in moving forward with Playdate. Mm-hmm. As we were progressing, the team was Marguerite and Ming. They came together and we joined it again. We never was split apart. We always talk as a team, and we have a conversation about. But mostly the concept is very unique. There is no such a concept around, and it's very well accepted by teachers and students. And well, I was the strongest believer in the team that the concept called become a product, and we move it forward. I'm more connected with the development of the business process, if we call it. They are more related with design or more related with UX, but we believe it that it could become an opportunity to make it public, and if UNESCO or UEFA is already our partner, But if UEFA would line up with us, that will be great, because they could fund it and make it happen.
Very nice. So this is our first networking event together. Hopefully it worked out the way you expected it to. If you have any suggestions, if we do this again in future weeks, and if there should be a more formal structure or something else that I should bring to the table, I made it kind of open-ended because I wanted to kind of see how, just with the 6 people here, how the conversation would kind of flow. But if you do have any suggestions, just send it to me offline, because I know that I want to stick to like the top of the hour deadline so that I don't bring people too far. But I think that as a sound off for like a group shot, like I always like to do, instead of putting up a prop, why don't you give me a facial expression and how you're either feeling going into the weekend, and that would probably be a good kind of summary of where things are. So you can, I'll give you a couple moments to think about how you want to kind of like think. What mine would be kind of like this, because I'm got a lot of work to do, but I'm really looking forward to doing it. So there actually, it's a good metaphor for two sides kind of squeezing your head, like between Teenagers for Change and something else. So, okay. And then Alex can just basically have a sprout on its head, and that's, it's full of ideas. So there you go. All right. So take a couple moments to think about like then Iva, you can basically just, if this is what it's going to be, then just say, there you go. Okay. All right. Give it a shot. If you want to use a prop, you can. But yeah, it's just something that basically, there you go. All right, you ready? 1, 2, 3. I gotta see the way of how that screenshot of Lisa, because there's gonna be something where it's like,
Could be
she maybe
anything.
just a blur and have to figure it out. Okay. Thank you all for coming. See you next week, hopefully. If not, I know you're busy, but we'll be doing this every week. I'll try to does this time work for in terms of 8 o'clock? Would you like it earlier? Should I get up at 7, Iva? Is that all right, or is this time okay? Okay.
This is okay.
All right. So I'll keep this, and then I'll try to keep the same times every week, and just kind of probably do a report on some of this stuff and say, like, from our past conversation, here's where things have changed or kind of moved in that direction. Okay, we got to go. Take care. Thanks all for coming. Good to see you all.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.